Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Ranked Movie Podcast show, where every week we take a look at a topic of pop culture and give you our rankings of it. We are concluding our Halloween horror month this week, and we are your hosts. I am Cody,
And I am Nick.
and again, we're concluding our Halloween horror month. Remember Halloween? It was last week, and it makes perfect sense to take a topic that has been often made fun of for airing in November after Halloween.
Sports. What are you going to do?
The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. There have been 93 segments. 93 individual segments across 31 episodes, across 32 seasons of the longest running animated sitcom.
Oh, I don't even think you have to throw animated. It's officially the longest running sitcom.
Is it the longest running sitcom now?
I also think it's the longest running, one of the longest running. It beat Bonanza or one of those that had a share Rawhide.
Okay. Primetime
I looked it up
shows
a few weeks ago. Yeah, my brother and I were talking about it. He was asking, and I looked it up, and I think they are officially the longest running show.
Okay. Well, I mean, not counting soaps, because like General Hospital has like 60-some seasons, and they air 5 days a week, which is it's insane to look at how many episodes a soap opera has. The Young and the Restless is like 50 years, 5 days a week for 18 months out of the year.
And God help you, you've seen damn near all of those.
Everyone. When they brought in the aliens, it was a little weird.
That's when it got good.
Was that Days of Our Lives or was that Young and the Restless?
I'm sure it's both.
It was
it's both.
At least one of them brought in.
Oh, they're my mom's still to this day watches, I think, General Hospital and Days of Our Lives, and every now and then somehow they'll get brought up into a conversation about, for some reason, and like there's been demonic possession, there's been a serial killer, there's been doubles. Like every time someone leaves the show, they recast it, and then when that actor wants to come back, then it's they're the real person. The other one was the long lost twin. It's like, okay, for as many years as we've been alive, Cody, how many identical twins have you met? Identical
twins. I think I've met one set of identical twins in my life.
Exactly. Yeah, these soap operas in this one show, let's say one, General Hospital, have like 40 identical twins. That's like, just, it's ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
The
Simpsons, longest running sitcom, longest running syndicated show, longest running, most Halloween specials, probably, of any show. I don't know. I'm just throwing random facts out there.
I would assume so.
Random made-up information. The news you know.
I would assume so.
Get Ranked Movie Podcast.
That's right. So like Cody said, we decided we wanted to do this because The Simpsons, a lot of times, because of especially even this year, because of the World Series, always a lot of times airs after Halloween, the Sunday after Halloween. They've even made that joke on the show before.
Multiple times.
It's the holiday season's already starting for a lot of people, and here we are doing a Halloween episode. So Cody had the fun idea of let's even though Halloween is over, the month is over, let's stretch it to one more week and do a fun Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode in honor of the fact they do that.
And still just one more reason for a Halloween season show.
And to be fair, depending on what happens in the election, or in this case, by the time you're listening to this, depending on what's happened with the election this past week, we could all use some fun horror as opposed to real world horror, because regardless of who won the other day at the time that you're watching this, I'm sure the country's just on fire.
And I mean, who knows? Maybe we won't even know by the time we upload this episode who the winner is.
That's true. You could be watching the next episode of this, and yeah, that's true. That's very true. But yes, so we will get to the Treehouse of Horror in a bit. Cody, news.
Yes, we did lose a legend this week. Sean Connery, the OG James Bond. Yeah. The original James Bond, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, was
I saw someone this weekend say on the day he died, which was Saturday, right? It's Halloween, right? He died.
Halloween, yeah.
I saw someone
Friday or Saturday,
tweeted,
it wasn't clear.
or it might have Friday night, yeah. Someone tweeted, in honor of Sean Connery today, everyone rewatched The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And someone commented back, you should not watch The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen since he hated that movie and, in fact, is the reason he retired. So you should not watch that in honor of him. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty funny. That movie sucked.
I like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
I know you
died
do.
He died overnight. He did die on Halloween. He died on the 31st.
Okay. He died in the Bahamas, though.
Yeah,
a good place to go, right?
His house in the Bahamas. I mean, lived a good retirement. What can you say? He.
Oh yeah.
He's
a badass. I mean,
James
like
Bond,
you said, he was
Senior,
he's
Jones.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, he had a really good career. He was always good. I mean, Oscar winner for The Untouchables, which he's fantastic in. But I was trying to think this weekend what my favorite Sean Connery performance is, and he's really good as James Bond. I love him in Goldfinger, especially. He's really fun in The Rock, the Michael Bay movie with Nicolas Cage. I like him in that. But he'll always be Henry Jones Sr. to me. He'll always be Indy's dad because he's just so much fun in Last Crusade. You got to see a side of Connery that I don't think we'd seen up to that point. You know,
right? Where
he was goofy. He was, he was a dork.
He can be funny, yeah.
You know,
I say we
get a little bit of him. He was a dorky character. He wasn't the fighter.
Yeah, we get a little bit of him like making fun of that in like Finding Forrester. I don't know if you've seen that one where he's this old shut-in that this kid finds and becomes his like.
I know of it, but I've never seen it.
And it's like he's making fun of the way he talks. He's like, "You the man now, dog." That's just.
Is that what that's from?
That's what that's from. Is Finding Forrester. He was making fun of the way the kid talked to with his friends and yeah, but yeah,
gotcha.
The legend.
Gotcha. Yeah, he was really good. He'll be missed, but you know what? He was 90. That's 90. A long ass full life that guy lived, and yeah, and he will for sure be missed. But luckily he was an actor, so we'll have all his work to go back and rewatch in honor of his memory.
Oh yeah,
and I'll do a really bad Sean Connery accent while doing it.
Okay, next news item, we have the second season premiere of Disney's Lucasfilm's The Mandalorian,
the Baby Yoda
a Star Wars story. Baby Yoda variety show.
Nope, it's the Baby Yoda show.
The Baby Yoda show.
It's the Baby Yoda show.
I feel like that's one of those.
The Baby Yoda variety show.
The Baby Yoda variety hour.
I like it.
Which,
and it's not, there's no acts. It's just him for an hour standing in the middle of the stage doing Baby Yoda stuff.
Doing Baby Yoda, eating frogs, playing with a gear shift.
Sipping some tea. I rewatched. So it had to have been last Thursday. I rewatched the finale of season 1. I remembered enough of it, but I was like, I want to rewatch it just to have it really fresh in my head before I watched the premiere.
When Los Pollo Yoko
and I forgot
to try to steal the baby.
I call him Space Gus Fring.
Okay.
It's kind of like I also call what's his face Space Apollo Creed. And which was fun. Which this week I was like, look, it's space Raylan Givens because of Timothy Oliphant. But I was laughing at the part in the finale last season that laughed my ass off this time when they're trying to leave and Space Gus Fring is attacking them in his TIE fighter when they're still like on the boat, and Carl Weathers shouts, "Hey, make the baby do the magic hands thing," and he turns, "Hey baby, do the magic hands thing," and it cuts to Baby Yoda and he just waves. It kills me. I forgot about that. It's so damn funny. Space Apollo Creed is great.
Space Apollo Creed is great. But yeah, and then
we're gonna talk real quick, everybody, about. Yeah, we're not going to spoil it. We will do a spoiler talk. Maybe this episode. Maybe we'll do non-spoilers and maybe real quick give I don't. Yeah, maybe we'll probably do a quick spoiler part at the very end of this, but it's not going to be long because there's really nothing big to spoil in the episode in the sense
Not really.
that
There's no like arcing story things.
Correct. Like there is and there isn't. There's one big thing, obviously, but there's nothing like, like if we talked the finale last season, like there's a lot that happens in the episode that's gonna tweak or further what happens in this season. But no, we'll just do general thoughts right now for the episode. I thought it was a blast. I thought it was a really strong start to the second season.
It was, and it did. I feel like it like totally again reminded me though that this show is as episodic as it is because it's. I mean, which
that was a big criticism they got last season, and I think they're going to tweak that and not let that be the case because this was episodic, yes, but the reason for him going to where he was is part of that through line of the season.
Yeah, it is.
It just so happens he gets sidetracked to I have to do this thing in order to get that thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So I definitely think it was episodic, but I think as a premiere, I think that was fine.
Yeah, and it was a strong premiere.
I think I laughed my ass off when you found out that Timothy Oliphant was playing another goddamn Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he does. He played a Marshal on Deadwood. He played a Marshal on Justified. He's playing a Marshal on Fargo right now. And now he's playing a Marshal on The Mandalorian. I literally shouted, really? Again? Of course you're a Marshal. What are the odds? No. But he was really good. I thought he brought some fun. I mean, The Mandalorian basically with this premiere has chosen, yes, we're for sure a Western. You had any thoughts that this wasn't, you're wrong. This show was a Western. Timothy Oliphant brought that Western southernness to it, And
what really gets me, or what I actually just thought of it today. I watched the episode Sunday morning, but I just realized today it's like I really like The Mandalorian because it's Firefly in the Star Wars universe. Because I mean, Firefly was like that gritty Western,
space Western,
more a space Western, but more of an ensemble cast. And I mean, The Mandalorian alone carries the show, and Baby Yoda, of course, very well with a non-ensemble, and it works. I mean, and
I think you're going to get more ensemble this season than last season because all the posters have had Space Carl Weathers and what's her face on it with them. So I think they're going to play a bigger part this season.
And we got them. Yeah, we got them a couple episodes. Like that he gathered them like throughout. He made connections to them throughout, and then they all.
For the finale was when they were
the finale of
together.
The season, first season.
Yeah.
So hopefully we do get to see.
But no, I thought it was fun. I think we will, and I just like I said, I just think it's a good, strong start. It built upon the mythos of Star Wars without really being ham-fisted. I like that it was longer. That was a problem a lot of us had last season, where a lot of the episodes were like barely 30 minutes, and it's like, come on. I liked this one was just shy of an hour.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil what the use of this was, but I feel like one thing I love that Disney and Lucasfilm are doing is that it's a TV show for Disney Plus, but they pretty much seems to have given them the budget to do movie special effects.
Yeah.
To where the special effects and the digital effects in this episode look just as good as anything we've seen on the screen for Star Wars.
Exactly. And even
nice.
Even the puppetry, like throughout, I was admiring the puppetry of some of the creatures, some of the bigger creatures in the show.
No, it was fun. It was a really good start, and I'm eager for more. I wish they just put them all at once.
Mm-hmm.
I'm greedy.
They're
greedy for that Yoda.
They're going the Amazon Prime route 1 week at a time.
Yeah.
This isn't Netflix. You can't binge an entire series or season in one day. Well, you can if you wait.
I want to, though. That's true.
No.
So overall, I thought it was a really good episode. I can't wait for more.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'll say on that. Anything else you want to say before we spoil the big twist at the end?
Nothing else here.
All right. What time is it right now?
It is 6:03.
It is 6:03. We will talk for what?
2
At
minutes?
most 2. We'll go to 6:06 just because it's already 6:03.
Okay.
So we'll go to 6:06. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you haven't seen the episode, skip ahead 4 minutes just to be safe. Skip ahead 4 or 5 minutes.
Yep.
We're not going to get straight into the list anyways. We always pad it. So we're going to
Yep.
start spoilers in 3, 2, 1. When the camera turned and you saw Space Raylan Givens was wearing Boba Fett's armor,
Mm-hmm.
I already kind of figured, okay, still doesn't mean he's dead. But then when that final shot happens and he turns and it's what's his face? It's Tamira Morrison. I'm like, oh, okay. And I screamed, oh shit. And then instantly thought to myself, but wait a minute, Nick, why are you excited? Boba Fett does nothing.
Yeah.
That's always been one of my things with Boba Fett is people lose their mind and love him. And I would admit, I'm not a big expanded universe person. I've seen a few of the shows. I haven't read many of the books. And I know they've really built him up to be even badder and cooler and that's why people love him. But just going off the movies,
character from a Christmas special.
Yeah, and just going off the movies, like who gives a shit about Boba Fett? But I'd be lying if I didn't say my nipples got really hard when he turned around and it was Boba Fett. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unexpected.
Did you know it was him? Could you tell that was him? I mean, obviously it's we're 20 years from when we last saw that actor, but
a little bit. I think so. No.
But you knew it was him though, or else you would have texted me and said, "Who is this?"
True.
You figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It was just I just love that Disney's not shying away from doing the prequel stuff. Like they easily could have said we're going to recast this part.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because who knows what he looks like. But I like that they're like, we're not going to do that. It's still going to be the same actor, and it's going to be Jango Fett, and that'll be fun. So I'm eager to see how that plays out. I don't think it'll be right away. It's going to be a few episodes, but I think it'll be cool.
Was it canon that he is a Mandalorian as well? No. He's just somebody that has the armor. Or is that that's probably what we're going to find out?
That could be. I know the Mandalorian's not true Mandalore.
Right, he's a rescue orphan.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. But anyway,
all right.
I just thought that was cool. We had to talk about it. So now we'll do this. To the video listeners, this means come back. Spoilers, gone. Exactly. So, okay. Yeah, that was our Mandalorian review. Cody, take it away.
So, again, we're talking about the Treehouse of Horror. I had to remember what the episode was about. I could have just looked down at my paper, but that would have been too easy. And we're going to talk for 5 more minutes about Nick's Jeff Goldblum shirt. Because...
Where'd he go? There he is.
The first time you showed me that, as you were coming out, I was like, is he wearing a Jesus shirt? Because I just saw like the glow
because of the
halo. Nope.
Hey,
that is not Jesus.
We all have our own personal Jesus, and if Jeff Goldblum has to be mine, I'll take it.
Yeah, there you go. So it is November, so traditionally Treehouse of Horror. And I looked at it. There's only been maybe I guess half many. Of them. But actually
oh really?
Almost half of them have been in November.
Okay.
Looking at the calendar, anywhere from, the earliest one was like October 7th, which super early in the year or super early in the month, and then
there were a few seasons. It was there were a few seasons where the Treehouse of Horror was the first episode of the season.
Yeah, I did notice
Not
that
many,
too.
But there were a few.
Through them, just looking through them all on Disney Plus, and it's like, oh, that's the first episode of the season. It's the 5th episode. Because The Simpsons has always been a fall-winter series because they have the Halloween episode, they have a big Christmas episode, and then Valentine's episode, I feel like. And they've always been, that block, fall sweeps, along with, all of animation domination is this time of year right now. So, yeah, we're 3 episodes in or 4 episodes into season 32. Yes.
Give or take, yeah.
Give or take. I don't know, what. And they're just going to keep going until they run out of actors. One of the things that I do say is respectful for the Simpsons is that they don't recast people. If somebody passes away, their character is respectfully removed from the show.
A lot of your shows do that, though. Family Guy has done that. They've killed off Mayor West. They've killed off Carrie Fisher's character. You know what I mean? They've done that too, which is nice.
I still remember when Peter was reading off the eulogy and he was at the wrong funeral.
That was a good way to end that, though, because he's Family Guy. It's got to be funny. So his eulogy was sweet and nice, but you've got to end it with a joke, you know. And definitely it was smart to not do it as a joke at the expense of who we're eulogizing. It was nice that he was at the wrong funeral. That was the joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we said, we are not ranking specific episodes. We're not ranking our favorite 10 of the 31. We are ranking our favorite segments. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes, for one, shame on you. There's 31 of them. You should have at least seen one. The odds are high. You should have seen one.
Right.
But for each Treehouse of Horror episode, they do 3 segments in each episode. And each one is a standalone story.
Non-canon.
Correct. Non-canon, because I remember watching one years ago, and Homer, someone got killed in it. And I remember my mom was like, what the hell? Did they just kill them? And I was like, it's fine. I said they'll be live in the next segment. And that's the fun thing about Treehouse of Horror. Anyone can die in any segment, and they're in the next one. Like nothing is canon. They're always goofy out there. A lot of them are parodies of popular culture. Mm-hmm. Some of them are
not even all horror parodies.
No, not at all. They did a Shape of Water one, which isn't a horror film. So they pretty much get carte blanche, just go nuts, which is probably a freeing thing every year for them when it comes to Treehouse of Horror to be like, you know what, we don't have to stick to any pre-existing canon, no pre-existing notions of anything. It's just, what do we want to do this year?
They made Ned the Devil.
Exactly, which is really funny. So yeah, that's what we'll be looking at is we're ranking our top 10 favorite individual segments. And as Cody said, there are over 90 of them. So we had a lot to choose from. And I'm just going to put this out there now. The joke has always been The Simpsons is not as good as it used to be. My list reflects that.
Mine too. I tried.
At least to me. Yeah, I mean, neither. I rewatched. There's been a lot of newer ones I haven't watched because I fell off The Simpsons years ago. Not because I didn't like it. It just waned for me. It wasn't as good, so I just stopped watching. And I watch it every now and then. If I need something to watch, I'll throw it on. And so I went and made sure to catch up on ones I hadn't seen from the past, like probably 10 years. Mm-hmm. And there are some good ones, but they just, to me, paled in comparison to ones from that first probably 15 seasons probably is what my list comes from. It's just they're just the best.
I will say that one from this week or this year was close.
Which one was that?
The Into the Homerverse, and just because of
see, my favorite of this week's of this year's
this year.
All 3 were fun as hell.
Were really good.
My favorite this season was the one where Lisa keeps dying over and over, basically the Happy Death Day parody, and I liked the pairing of her and Nelson, which was cool. Which that one was fun, and
canon.
Yeah, and the Toy Story one was fun, and I truly wondered, because it was animated really, really well. With them being owned by Disney, is there any chance Pixar helped them? Because there was some really good animation in this. The grass was each individual blades, the fur on one of the stuffed animals looked good. Like,
you're probably right. I wouldn't be surprised if
because they're known for that shit. Like, that's always the joke with The Simpsons. Yeah, if there's a celebrity in an episode, chances are it's that actor. Like they're known for that type of stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were like contacted Pixar and said, "Would you like to help us animate an episode we're going to do for Treehouse of Horror?"
Sorry.
Yeah. So no, this year's episode was definitely strong. I laughed quite a bit. There was a joke in the second segment that I truly ended up missing like the next 30 seconds because I was laughing so hard. When it was in the Lisa segment when she kept dying, when they go to see Comic Book Guy, and he's talking about
how lazy the trope
different things in the tropes and different how they've beaten the time travel paradox in these different shows. And he says one thing, and the third thing he goes, "An Edge of Tomorrow," which was stopped by poor box office.
Yes.
Killed me. I thought that's great.
That a couple weeks ago, or in our time travel episodes.
It was great. I was like, what a good episode, or a good joke. But yeah, so like I said, it is indicative. Like I said, I don't like to be one of those people that jumps on the bandwagon of The Simpsons isn't as good as it used to be. But just going off of the Treehouse of Horrors, they just knocked it out of the park those first 15 or so seasons.
Yeah.
You know, for my list at least. So that's
mine too.
Just warning everyone now, my list is predominantly early Simpsons.
Yeah,
but they crushed it with these
heavy.
segments. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of how it is with anything. Even when it comes to our lists, when we're doing movies, a lot of the things we're going to favor are things from when we were growing up. And The Simpsons in the 90s, nothing beat it. Mm-mm. And that was when we were growing up. Mm-hmm. You know, like Simpsons was on my TV every single day after school. Yep. You know, I remember it was 5 o'clock, 5:30 every night.
Yep.
Simpsons is on my TV, you know. So, yeah. So that definitely is going to be why I think we have these older episodes. But, yeah, enough preamble.
All right. So the way this show works is every week, Nick and I take a topic of pop culture, be it movies, television, video games, whether it's relevant to the times or just something that we come up with off the top of our head and want to do a list about. We take that topic and make a top 10 list for the most part of that and give you our rankings. We don't know each other's lists. We make our lists separately. No collusion, no coordination, no connection, and we'll see.
No voter fraud between us.
No. Say we're all voting by mail here. And
which to some listeners, that's fraud.
That's fraud. But just record, give you our list live on tape. Hello, YouTube. I'm waving at the YouTube. I'm waving at the audio listeners.
You're waving at Jeff Goldblum.
I'm waving at Jeff Goldblum.
There he goes. Get out of here, Jeff.
You know Jeff Goldblum's a listener. Jeff Goldblum. I
wish he texted me. He finally texted me for the first time in like a year the other day, and of course it was to get me to go vote.
Yeah.
It's like, exactly. Oh, Jeff Goldblum texted.
Yeah. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the Get Ranked Halloween Special 1. Even though it's our second season.
Although if you go off of each week of the Halloween Horror Month as a special, we're going to catch up with Simpsons pretty quick.
Like that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Starting with my number 10. My number 10. From Treehouse of Horror number.
I'll tell you right now, I did not think to put down which episodes mine are from.
Okay. Well,
but you might be quick enough on your computer to tell me.
In front of me.
Okay, good. I know for sure a few of them which ones they're from, but
from Treehouse of Horror number XVII. What is that? 17? 17. The Day the Earth Looked Stupid. Because I like the War of the Worlds, and I will say some of this will be based on the jokes in the episode. Some of this will be based on the source material that they're parodying, and some of this will be based on
and how they parody that source
and
material.
How they parody the source material, or I know there's a couple that didn't have. Well, there's just a couple that didn't have source material that just kind of were just like general.
On your list?
No, just of the episodes, period.
Oh, gotcha.
There are a couple that don't have source material other than just like witches.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few. Yeah, or just pulling from nothing.
Pulling from horror tropes. No, The Daily Earth Looked Stupid. They're all listening to the Halloween special, and it's H.G. Wells or Orson Welles reading War of the Worlds, of course. Orson Welles voiced by Maurice LaMarche because it sounds exactly the same. And, they finally find out that it's a hoax. It's a radio broadcast. It's a story. It's fiction. And then the aliens actually come and they don't believe that they're being invaded because it just didn't happen again. Or and of course, it's their way to bring in Kang and Kodos. Staple of every Treehouse of Horror episode, even if it's a bit gag making fun of the fact that they're not on the episode.
Oh, 90% of the time, the end of the episode is pulling back from Earth and just their 2 cents in the ship.
They're just looking at, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's a fun parody of War of the Worlds. There's not much else to it. takes place in 1930s Springfield. So during the Great Depression, there's a couple jokes about the Great Depression at the beginning, and that the War of the Worlds broadcast was just to like lift the spirits of the people. And I will say one of the jokes that I've laughed at, that I forgot about, that I laughed at again rewatching it this week, when they're doing the War of the Worlds and he's like explaining the stuff that's happening, like the horses are running in the rain, and it shows the Foley artist hitting like coconuts and pouring water, and he just says something else and it shows the Foley art, and then he just explains something like really bizarre, and the Foley artist just holds up a sign that says "screw you" and walks away. Just because Foley work is always fascinated
would be the
me.
best damn job.
I've always, it's been,
it would be.
I watched a documentary episode or something about doing the Foley work for Ratatouille when he's going through the kitchen, like banging the pans around, and they actually had the interviewer try and fail miserably, and then it showed the actual Foley artist doing everything they do, and it's like
the misconception is that it's just banging shit, but there's actual artistry to what the Foley artists do.
You gotta bang it the right way.
Yeah, and there's artistry to it, and I just think it'd be fun as hell to just come up with different techniques and different, we need this crazy thing. Okay, well, what can we do to do it? I just think that'd be fun.
And I still remember like listening to old radio, like I used to listen to the Prairie Home Companion weekly, and they always had a Foley artist on set or on stage with them that was just always making the sound effects, either with stuff he had in front of him or with his mouth or making noises. And
didn't the guy that hosted Prairie Home Companion turn out to be a sexual deviant?
Yes, unfortunately.
That's right. He's dead though, right? Didn't he die right after that?
I don't.
Is he dead or is he still alive?
I don't think so.
I remember his name. I just know
Garrison
when I remember hearing about it. Garrison. I remember hearing about it and going like, that makes perfect sense. Look at that guy.
No,
it was always
he's
creepy.
still alive.
He's still alive. He's just disgraced. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Anything else on? I forget what that one's specifically called.
The Day the Earth Looked Stupid.
That's right.
Nothing else on The Day the Earth Looks Stupid. So moving over, Nick, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is from the very first episode, Treehouse of Horror episode they've ever did. My number 10 is The Raven.
Punt.
Okay. Moving down. Oh, we'll tell them what a punt is.
So what a punt is every time we have a item on our list that is not matching position. Like, so since I have the Raven much higher on my list, we're going to punt that and talk about it later.
That's right.
Nick's number 9.
My number 9 is from the first episode of the Treehouse of Horror.
Really?
I liked the first one. My number 9 is Bad Dreamhouse.
Okay, I almost had both of these on my list. I did not put Bad Dreamhouse on my list.
Yeah, Bad Dreamhouse. One of the reasons I love this episode and I love this one, the second season of The Simpsons was one of the first DVD seasons of a show I ever had. Okay. So I watched the hell out of the second season because for some reason The Simpsons they started their Treehouse of Horror, the Halloween special, on the second season. And so I watched this one a lot growing up. And you know me, being a Halloween fan, I'm always going to watch the Halloween episodes first. So that Bad Dreamhouse has always been one of my favorites just because I've seen it a lot. But I also just think it's just a really funny episode. I love, Homer and the family all move into this big creepy mansion outside of town. And, I love even the beginning, Homer or Marge says something like, wow, how'd we get this? That's a really good steal. Homer goes, yeah, the realtor seemed really eager to get rid of it. It's just such a good parody of, Poltergeist and Amityville Horror. Because when they get in the house, the house itself is like an evil entity that's, talking to them while they're sleeping, kill, and telling them they need to go kill each other. And
except Marge is unaffected.
Yeah, the walls just start bleeding, and I don't know. I've always thought it was funny. The best joke to me, I think, is the very end when Marge just flat out loses it and starts screaming at the house that we live here now. You're gonna have to make a choice: be here with us or not. Okay, can I have a minute? So they all go outside while he confers, and then the house. And I think you hear the house say something like, "Oh, a lifetime with the Simpsons." Yeah, eternity with the Simpsons. And then it cuts to the outside, and the house just self-destructs. I just love, Lisa's the one that says it. Man, The house chose to end its life rather than spend a lifetime with us. What does that make you think about us? Or something like that. And I've always just loved that joke. That's always been funny to me. So I really like this one a lot.
So, and I will say, I had to look it up just because out of curiosity. So the
I'm
first
sure it's
episode,
Harry Shearer, right? Oh, I thought you were looking up
oh,
who the voice of the house is.
oh,
I'm sure it's
I'm
Harry
sure it was
Shearer.
Harry Shearer. But no, the first episode of The Simpsons roasting on an open fire, was a Christmas episode. The first season premiered in the middle of December.
December. Gotcha.
The next time they
I remember,
premiered was in
that's right. I
October.
guess I didn't even think about that. I forgot. I always forget the first episode was a Christmas episode.
The
That's where
first
they get the dog.
the first actual episode, not
Yes,
not
not
counting
Tracy
the
Ullman.
Chelsea Ullman show.
Gotcha. But yeah, so my number 9, Bad Dream House. Cody, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is a let's see, is probably, I think, the newest segment on my list. From 2011, actually. Treehouse of Horror number 22, Dial D for Diddley. And this one is a parody of the Showtime series Dexter. So this one, it's Ned Flanders basically just being a murderer, which I always love the episodes which pull Ned into something unholy, because he is like the pious, more pious
Something
than the
polar
reverend there.
Yeah, just polar opposite of who he is.
And I still love the entire sequence where it looks like he's smothering someone with a pillow and he's just making the bed. He's tying he's has like the piano, what looks like piano wire to strangle someone as dental floss, and he's doing all this bunch of stuff that looks murderous, looks evil, and then we finally get to him like putting his hands together, and it's somebody else's hands that he's dumping into the bay. And his motivation, that it's all God's word, God is telling him to do this, then it's really Homer through a walkie-talkie in his Bible. So just
I forgot it was in the Bible.
Just that whole thing when Marge questioning Homer, do you notice your enemies just keep dying? Like Mr. Burns, Sideshow Bob, Patty, and Selma, they all get murdered, and just it's again breaking the canon of let's kill whoever we can. How many times Patty and Selma die in this entire series of episodes? And yeah, again, bringing Ned out of that normal, even though he, in this he is doing the what God commands him to do. It's fun. And Dexter was a good show until the third or fourth season. Fifth season? Okay.
The fourth one was the last good one. The fourth one was the one with John Lithgow.
Okay, I
which
think
is
I
the best
watched
season.
through the fourth season. Because I think John Lithgow.
I think because I probably told you need to watch through at least the fourth season, because he's awesome in it.
Which I think I watched through the third season, like as it aired, and then the fourth season I watched way later. But
okay,
it's a fun show until it jumps the shark after John Lithgow. So
hey, we'll see if they can bring it back.
Yeah, that was
be good.
Surprising to see that they're coming back.
Yeah,
because didn't he kill himself in the end? Like go out and sink his boat? Was that not what happened?
Yes, he did that. So people think he's dead, and then went off to be a stupid ass lumberjack.
That's right. He did the Batman. Yeah. He did the Dark Knight Rises ending.
Yeah, and stupid in both of those.
So, no.
All right. Anything else on Dial Diddley?
No. Do you have anything to add for it?
No. It was a funny one.
All right.
I haven't seen it in a long time, though. I don't know if I've got around to finish watching that one or repeat.
Gotcha.
There were a few that I didn't watch again because I'd seen enough. I wanted to prioritize ones I hadn't seen over the past, how many years.
Yeah, and I mean this was the gem in that that little bit of area. So moving down to my number 8. So my number 8, going back to Good Simpsons, going back to episode Treehouse of Horror number 5, season 6, My number 8 is Nightmare Cafeteria.
Punt.
Okay. Nick, what is
All
your
right,
number 8?
moving over to my number 8. Couldn't tell you which one it's from, but I'm sure Cody will in a second. My number 8 is Attack of the 50-Foot Eyesores.
That is my number 7, and that is from Treehouse of Horror number 6.
Good deal. This is another one that, like I always say, every single week whenever we do a show, I try to put down a gut reaction list in terms of which ones do I remember right offhand and where would I put them right now. This is one of those ones I remembered right away, and that's just where it ended up after I rewatched some and watched some new ones for the first time. But I just always remember the moment in this one when, the joke of the episode is, Homer pisses off all the
advertising mascots.
All the advertising mascots in Springfield, and they get struck by lightning and all come to life. But he pisses off the Lard Lad? The Lard Lad donut guy because he steals the big donut. And the joke that always kills me, and I always think about when I think of this episode, is when Homer's at home and he hears a knock on the door and he opens it and it's just the eyeball of the Lard Lad. And he goes, "Oh, I don't have your donut. It was Flanders. He's next door." And he looks over and then he shuts the door and you hear him stepping over and like something explode. Then you hear he walks back, another little knock at the door and he opens it. He didn't have it, huh? Like I always remember that moment. But I also remember the moment of I also remember the moment with Kent Brockman's advertisement coming to life and attacking him
behind him,
which is just funny. But I don't know. This is just one that I instantly thought of when we decided to do this list because I just remember really liking this one. I like the idea of advertising coming to life. I also really like ones. I have quite a few on here that are parodies of pre-existing things, but I also just think this is one of the better standalone, original ideas. And it's always been one of my favorites.
Yeah, and again, as we were talking about earlier, where if they have a celebrity on the show, it's most likely that celebrity. They have Paul Anka in this episode to sing the jingle at the end to make everyone stop looking at everyone's I like when they turn around.
The only one is Homer.
That's holding a sign now with sprinkles.
Now with sprinkles, exactly. Just trying to get him over there. Yeah, the Simpsons the old ones have always stuck the landing on the endings of these segments. Kind of like Bad Dream House, the joke that it would rather self-destruct than live with the Simpsons. Exactly. This one, the joke being the only way to stop the advertisements is ignore them. And of course, Homer's back there being easily swayed because he's Homer Simpson.
Of course.
It's just it's always fun. It's a donut, exactly. Yeah, that's my number 8.
All right. What's your number
7? Moving down to my number 7. My number 7 is another one that I couldn't tell you which one it's from, but Cody will. My number 7 is another one of those where when doing this list, I tried to think back on over the last X amount of years that I've been watching The Simpsons, which ones, whenever it was Halloween time, they always repeated, Treehouse of Horror. Now they're all on FXX all the time. Even
and Freeform,
Fox Family, Freeform, whatever. ABC Family, Fox Family, who gives a shit? I try to think back. What are the episodes that I always tried to make sure that I watched or tried to catch when they were on? You know what I mean? Like when I would go and hit info to see which one it is and see which segments were the ones that I remembered enough that I was like, I want to make sure I don't miss that one's repeat this year.
Right.
And this was always one that I loved growing up because it was really cool. My number 7 is Homer Cubed.
Punt.
Right? Homer Cubed?
Homer Cubed is a punt.
Yeah.
That is also from
we'll
6.
Talk about it later.
That is from
it from 6? Okay. Okay. That may be why that one's a favorite of mine too. Then it's just because I always saw 50-Foot Eyesores because I wanted to make sure I saw Homer Cube.
Right. And honestly, almost all 3 from that episode were on my list. Almost.
I don't remember what the third one is.
The other one was Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace.
That's right.
So
that's right. Okay.
So all right, Homer Cubed. All right, and my number 7 was Attack of the 50-Foot Eyesores. So moving down to my number 6. My number 6 from Treehouse of Horror, number 11, Night of the Dolphin.
Didn't make my list, but it was damn close. I remember really liking this one.
This is one of the first ones that I thought, this was, again, as Nick said, the gut punch list at the very beginning. this was one of my this could have been in my top 5 almost, but it got pushed back by 1 point out of my top 5. But yeah, this is a fun one. It's great because it's all Lisa's fault, and you don't see her being wrong a lot. So yeah, her like freeing the dolphin, which just goes to exact revenge on humanity for driving dolphins into the ocean, making them not be land creatures anymore. And again, as Nick mentioned, the way the ending goes, it's like, there are more of us than there are of them. We can defeat the dolphins. And then it just cuts to all of them just floating in the ocean to where they were, defeated with like what looks to be no contest and
extreme prejudice.
And it's just, it's that perfect jump to wwhere it's like, we got this. And then that you don't see any of the battle. You just see that they lost, and exactly what happened. That the Dolphins. You don't need it. The Dolphins just won. Doesn't matter how. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
How well people fought. It doesn't look like anyone's even hurt except for Krusty floats by dead.
What am I? When you talked about Lisa being wrong, I was watching one last night, and if this is on your list, it'll spoil that. But oh well, just say it is, and I'll stop talking. But this is almost the exact same plot setup as another one they did called the Fright to Creep and Scare Harms.
Yeah, with the not Jesse,
Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid, and then Jesse James.
Yeah, where same deal where Lisa decides we need to ban all the guns in Springfield because this young guy William Bonney, who was 21, got killed by a gun, and he wished guns would be outlawed. So she gets the town to get rid of them all. Well, that was the plan all along because William Bonney is actually Billy the Kid, and now his gang of outlaws are going to take over the town, and which is a funny joke. But I remember thinking, okay, this is a lot like the dolphin one, where it's Lisa trying to get the town to do something good and it ends up biting them in the ass.
Right. And that was another good one that could have made my list, but
it was a good one,
but not quite. But no. And
trying to remember who was the fourth person that showed up that wasn't an outlaw. It was like a German.
It was a German. It was like,
who the hell is it?
It said like the most dangerous German there ever was, and then when it's not Hitler, that's the
it's not Hitler.
That's the twist. The Fright to Creep and Scare Arms was, let's see, Billy the Kid, Frank and Jesse James, the Sundance Kid, and Kaiser Wilhelm II.
Kaiser Wilhelm, that's right.
The last German emperor, and
like it's the Sundance Kid. Where's Billy? Or not Billy? Where's Butch Cassidy? You don't always have to have Butch Cassidy.
We're not attached to the hip,
Of
course,
that was a fun one. But no, the dolphin one's fun. It was another one. Yeah, but the dolphin one is another one. Yeah, that was close to my list just because it is one that I just remember fondly from years ago, but just got knocked out. 15 for sure.
Yeah. For sure, at least. So yeah, my number 6.
All right. My number 6 is probably the newest one on my list. And even then, it's like a decade old by this point, I think. My number 6 is It's the Grand Pumpkin, Millhouse. Or as my phone auto-corrected, It's the Grand Pumpkin, Molehouse.
This one was this definitely top 15. This was one of the ones that I did write down on my phone.
Yeah, this was one I remember seeing an ad for it, like the week it was leading up to the episode, and I remember like, oh, it's going to be a fun one, and watching it, and instantly remember thinking at the time, this is like top tier Treehouse of Horror for me. Like, I love the Grand Pumpkin episode. It just kills me. I love, obviously it's a parody of the Great Pumpkin. It's a Charlie Brown parody, with Homer being in the beginning. Homer is Snoopy falling off the house. But I just love that the Grand Pumpkin,
Marge playing the trombone.
It's the trombone, which no one plays trombone. That's ridiculous.
Only weird people.
That's right. Only those weirdos. Is it behind you?
Maybe.
Oh shit. No, but I remember just loving this episode to death. I love that the twist of the joke being that when the Grand Pumpkin rises, he just loses his shit.
But why
Because
is
people are making jack-o'-lanterns and they're
pumpkins.
carving pumpkins and killing pumpkins, and he loses his shit.
Now, why is it that all great pumpkin parodies turn into a murderous pumpkin? Because Robot Chicken did the same thing, but Robot Chicken, it was like a demonic summoning great pumpkin. But this, it's, Milhouse's belief.
And I love that's Hank Azaria playing the Grand Pumpkin. He's just doing such a voice. He's almost doing like his Abe Lincoln from Battle of the Smithsonian.
Okay, yeah.
I'm trying to think, who is it that has the tray of roasted pumpkin seeds?
Groundskeeper Willie.
Is it Groundskeeper Willie? And he just
yeah.
he loses his mind. You're eating our children.
Well,
whatever.
Even the very first one, when Milhouse gives him the pumpkin bread. Ooh, bread just for pumpkins? Wait a minute.
But yeah, no, I remember loving it. I love the outcome. That they raise. I believe it was Tom Turkey, right?
Turkey.
Right. Yeah, and to fight him, and then the coda at the end of that one that he is going to lose his mind too.
Yeah, because turkey Thanksgiving.
Excuse me. So yeah, this has always been one that, like I said, it's of the newer ones. Like I said, I think this is the newest one on my list. This is one that stuck with me as that's an all-timer for me. I love the joke. The joke behind it caught me off guard the first time, and it still is one that I love even to this day. That I was like, yep, that's on my list. The Grand Pumpkin Mole House.
All right. So we're halfway through our episode already, ladies and gentlemen. So in the middle here, we like to take a little ad break. So for the audio listeners, we will be right back.
For the video listeners, you'll just look at us like we are doing a cutaway in Family Guy.
Yep. Let's see. All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Get Ranked Movie Podcast, the pop culture podcast where we give a top 10 ranking of whatever we feel like that week. Today we're looking at the Treehouses of Horror, the Treehouse of Horrors, the Simpsons episodes of Treehouses of Horrors. I don't know where to put the plural in there, so I'm just putting it on everything. And Jeff Goldblum shirt. And we've had a couple punts. We've had a couple newer episodes, which is surprising, and I think we've got all of our new stuff out of the way so far. Everything else is 90s Simpsons.
Yeah, like I said, Great Pumpkin Millhouse is the newest one on my list, and like I said, even that one I think was like 10 years ago.
That was 2008, so 12 years
2008.
ago.
Yeah,
My newest one was from 2011, and then I think all the rest of mine are from at least the 90s. Yeah, all the rest of mine are from the 90s. Which is
okay. My number 5, right?
For the course for The Simpsons. Yes, Nick, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is a punt from earlier. My number 5 is Nightmare Cafeteria.
Alrighty, Soylent Green.
This was another one that was one of those where, like I said, from now to like the end of the list, save for one of them, are all ones that throughout the years on the Halloween spooky season, it was always, I got to make sure I see the episode that has this one because I want to see that one again. I like it. Now with Disney Plus, it's no biggie.
Whenever you want.
But back then, no, I had to hope I caught it. And Nightmare Cafeteria was always one I always loved. I loved the idea that the school teachers and Principal Skinner are killing the students in order to supply the food for the school. And I love how he gets that idea, and I love them turning the German kid into bratwurst. I love at the end when they're on top of the railway and looking down into the giant blender. Mm-hmm. And Milhouse says something like, "It's okay, guys. We're kids. We three, we won't die at the end," or something. And he gets knocked off, just falls straight into the blender.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't kill the Simpson kids.
Yeah. It's just great. Anytime, Principal Skinner has always been one of my top, probably 10 or maybe close to 5 favorite Simpsons characters. He's always, Cody knows that. Principal Skinner's always been one of my favorite characters. And so any one that have to do with him, especially this one, him being the big bad, basically, it just kills me. Nightmare Cafeteria is great. Sure. Yeah, I forgot about that.
The one episode where he was, found out to not be.
Could not be him.
Yep. Anyway, Nightmare Cafeteria. That was my number 8, and yeah, it's a Soylent Green parody. They're eating the people, they're eating the students. I mean, it's
Trying to remember who's the first person they taste. It's Jimbo, right? He gets the food on him.
I think so.
And
Jimbo is the first one to be killed and eaten, and it's
right.
just the detention people. It's because detention is overcrowded.
Yeah,
but
it's just good. It's just funny. I just always have liked that idea.
And then Groundskeeper Willie trying to save them and
is that the same season where Groundskeeper Willie gets killed in all 3 segments?
Yes, it is that episode, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, every segment he pops in and just gets an axe in the back. I think it's an axe in the back in all 3, right?
I think so. Yeah, it is.
No, that is a fun one. So yeah, Nightmare Cafeteria, definitely one of my favorites. My number 5.
Your number 5. All right, moving over to my number 5 from the 90s, from Treehouse of Horror, number 9, season 10, number 9. My number 5 is Hell to Pay.
This was a real close one.
This
one used to.
Okay, yeah.
This one used to creep me out too.
Yeah, and this was another fun one because, canonically, Snake is a pretty bad guy throughout the show, and this episode he finally gets caught. For the duration of this episode. And
I gotta cut in why I thought of it. Just when you're bringing up Snake, it made me think of one of my favorite jokes from the Fright to Creep and Scare Harms when they're turning in the guns and he turns in his gun. Yeah, you're not so tough without your gun, are you, Snake? And he just bitch slaps him. That one, Chief Wiggum is another one that's definitely like top 10 for me. And there's another one I watched the other day where it was a Pod People parody. It was Invasion of the Body Snatchers parody.
Body Snatchers.
And he's getting absorbed by the pod. And what are the 2 cops' names? What's the
Lou and
Lou walks
Eddie.
up and says to Bart and Homer. Yeah, Lou walks up and goes, And he says to Bart and Lisa, it's okay. He wasn't that great of a cop anyway. And it cuts to Chief Wiggum. Hey Lou, my feelings haven't dissolved yet. It just kills me. But when you brought up Snake, it just made me think of that joke. Not so tough without your gun, are you? It just bitch slaps him.
That was great. But no, this one where, Snake gets caught and it's 3rd strike, so he gets the chair and he gets killed. And of course, Homer gets a hair transplant, and it turns out to be Snake's hair. Snake's scalp is given to Homer as a donation. Homer finally has hair. But
the same style.
But and once it possesses him, the hairstyle changes.
True, that's true. That's true.
So it goes back and forth. When he turns into Snake Homer, the hair changes to Snake hair, and of course he ends up getting. Is it Hank Azaria that voices Snake? I think so.
I believe so. Yeah.
So he gets Hank Azaria's voice. He gets Snake's voice, and just goes through with the murdering of all the witnesses. And it's just a fun. I
love when they shoot it.
when they cut the hair off and the hair is running around and grabs a gun and they're trying to chase it down.
It becomes sentient.
It's its own. It is its own thing. It's
yeah.
And maybe that's why Snake was evil, because he was just possessed by a bad hair day. I'm stealing the joke from the episode. You can't hate me. But no, yeah, the Hell to Pay. My number.
It's a fun one.
My number 5.
Well, all right. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is as relevant today as it was 15. No, shoot. How old is this episode? It's as relevant today as it was.
At least 20.
24 years ago when it
the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Treehouse of Horror, number 7, Citizen Kang.
Didn't make my list.
Didn't make your list. So
I liked this one, but it was never one of the ones that stuck with me that I needed to make sure I saw. Because I think when I was younger, I didn't give a shit about politics. I didn't get the jokes. You know what I mean? I don't think I got it, and so it just never. It's a good one. No, I really do like it, but it was never one that has stuck with me to where like I made sure even now to like go rewatch that one. But
And I feel like
King
this
of
is
Kodos,
relevant.
King of Kodos, I'll just throw it out there now, have never been my favorite characters on the show. I've never really liked King and Kodos.
No.
I've always thought them irritating.
Oh, I really like them.
They've never been my favorite.
They're one of the more difficult levels in the Simpsons game. I hate the level where you're fighting the aliens.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Because it's just countless aliens.
Oh
coming
God,
at you from every
can they
angle.
hurry up and just announce a remaster of Hit and Run? Give me my Grand Theft Auto Simpsons game again.
Simpsons Hit and Run was great, and I liked the Simpsons game. I played a lot more of the Simpsons game than Hit and Run.
Hit and Run was always my favorite because it literally was just Grand Theft, and I liked just being able to just roam the city and the cars, and I don't know. Hit and Run was great, but yeah, King and Kodos has never been my favorite. But go ahead, Cody. Citizen Kang.
Citizen Kang. No, you get Homer being abducted by aliens and being told take us to your leader, and they go kidnap Bill Clinton, and then it's like, oh, there's an election coming up. It might not be Bill Clinton in a week, so they kidnap Bob Dole as well, because the 90s. And I do like that a lot of course, they kind of have to, because every Halloween is right before Election Day, so every presidential election they do a big. There's a segment of. Either a segment or it's part of the framing.
Even the opening of this year.
Even the opening this year, and it's always funny how they don't take a side.
I just gotta say, I like when this one definitely took a side, because I remember even literally saying out loud like, I love that shows
listing through all of the stuff.
Exactly. By that they list all the shit the Orange Cheeto has done over the 4 years, but even him saying as Homer punches his ballot, he says, take that, late night host. Goodbye to your jokes. It's like, yeah, the Simpsons clearly, I think, was saying they're backing Biden. But yeah, that was always, I remember the one opening where Homer he's trying to vote, I think, for Obama or McCain. It's the electronic thing.
He's trying to vote for Obama, and it keeps saying
he pushes McCain. Obama, and it keeps saying one vote for McCain, and then I think it just ends up becoming a blender and sucks him in.
Yeah, he gets eaten by the bottom of the machine.
Yeah.
And his blood spells out Treehouse of Horror number, whatever it was.
That's right.
Because naturally, that's...
And I think the music... Dun, 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 yeah.
Yeah, but... So this one, they abduct the presidents and then steal their bodies, and it's... your political stuff in there, and I love when it's, I think whichever one is Bob Dole, abortions for all, boo, abortions for everybody, boo, abortions for some but not every, and tiny American flags for others, yay,
yeah,
just trying to say what
just
will make the crowd
appease
the crowd. And I mean, Family Guy did the same thing with the 9/11 joke. And
that one, the 9/11 joke in Family Guy kills me because of the 9, and the whole audience. it's the gasp as they're waiting for her to continue. 9, 11. It just kills me. I love that joke.
But at the end when and as somebody who has voted third party in the past, and the one guy, I'll just vote third party. Go ahead, throw away your vote.
Dude, I was watching this one the other night. I was probably it had to have been like earlier last week after we decided to do this list. And that joke came up, and I was going to text you and say, see, Cody, even The Simpsons 25 years ago knows that you're throwing your vote away. And it's a good joke, because it's like, it shouldn't be that way, but it is.
And then that bit at the end, don't blame me, I voted for Kodos. All enslaved anyway. No, this is a fun episode, super topical, because every election cycle this Treehouse of Horror adds one in, and the 90s was not safe either. And that was a less
oh god, yeah, that one didn't really matter too much. Yeah.
Bob Dole. I was like Bob Dole on Family Guy as well.
On Family Guy, just screams Bob Dole all the time, tuckers himself out.
And that was the thing, I guess, he spoke in the third person in a lot of his speeches.
No, he did. Yeah, it was always Bob Dole's going to do this for the country, so that, yeah.
But
anything else on Citizen Kang?
Nope, nothing else on Citizen Kang.
So all right, number 4. Moving down to my number 4. Again, couldn't tell you which one it's from, but it's an early one. My number 4 is Time and Punishment.
That is from number 5.
5. So this one was another one that
so close to
it
my
wasn't.
list.
Yeah, this isn't one that I made sure to seek out every year, but after rewatching it for this list, I was like, you know what, that one's pretty damn good. That's on my list. And I remember remembering it when I was watching it, I was remembering it and thinking, I remember how good this one is, and this is where it ended up. But this is the one where Homer tries to fix his toaster and ends up creating a time machine and goes back in time and just screws everything up by killing. I think he kills a mosquito. That's right. He swats a mosquito, and then every time he goes back, it's just a different reality.
The Big Brother head is one
yeah. And he has to go and get, the new brain scan or whatever, netified or something, and yeah. But the one that I always laugh at is when he goes back to the old time and thinks he's fixed it and comes back and everything seems good and he goes, oh, everything's good. Marge, can I have a donut? What are donuts? And he just screams.
That's the one there where they're rich and it's like everything.
That's right. That's right. Everything's
Patty and Selma
perfect.
Are dead.
They're dead.
Rich.
Yeah,
nice
that's
car.
right. And everything's great. And he goes, oh, I can like this. And then when he leaves, she goes, oh, look, it's raining. And it's raining donuts.
And then, of course, Maggie kills Groundskeeper Willie in this one with the axe in the back because it's that same episode.
That's the same episode. Yeah.
James Earl Jones, this is a disturbing universe.
I just like when he finally loses it and just goes back into the past and just starts wreaking havoc. Wreaking havoc.
And you see that everything changing in the present. It turns into the Flintstones house. It turns into,
like a future house. Yeah, a bunch of different stuff. And then, the end when he comes back and they all have forked tongues and he goes, close enough.
Exactly. What more can you do? It's never going to be perfect again. But.
Exactly. But this is always one, like I said, I remember. It's not one I remember ever seeking, but having rewatched it this week, I was like, I remember that one. And I remember how good it is too. So yeah, I knew this one was definitely on my list.
This was one of the ones that was originally on my list, but yeah, I you may have done it, but I didn't want to have all 3 from Treehouse of Horror 5 on my list.
Okay, well, on that fun note, moving down to my number 3, The Shinning.
Punt. Wait, no. The Shinning is my number 2. The Shinning is my number 2, and that does.
Which is
also
also 5.
5. Yeah. So you do have all 3.
I know. I didn't want to either.
That is by far the best Treehouse of Horror episode as a whole.
Yeah, and I didn't want to do that, but it's just a strong-ass episode, and all 3 are funnier than hell.
All 3 are fantastic.
So I had to. But The Shinning, I think, is one of the best parodies ever in general. I think it's one of the best strong parodies of any show has ever done. I think this one has one of my favorite jokes that I reference a lot whenever I watch The Shining, which is when the blood comes out of the elevator. That's odd. The blood usually gets off at the 3rd floor.
No,
that's such a good joke. It's a good parody when I'm watching the movie The Shining and laughing, thinking of The Simpsons.
Exactly.
That's when they've done a good job.
Parody when you're watching the original. That's always.
I love Groundskeeper Willie being, the guy that teaches him about The Shining or what I forget what they call it in this because they don't want to get sued.
The Scatman Crothers.
And I love when he says, you can call me anytime, just not between 5 and 6. That's Willie's time.
Well, and I mean, they even make the copyright joke, and it's like, don't you mean?
That's what I meant. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Is the joke. Yeah, it's right in there.
Yeah. I love the beginning of it when they keep forgetting stuff, and it's like day 1 or Wednesday. It's like, did you remember to lock the front door? Don't. Go back Thursday. Do you remember to lock the back door too? Friday.
We forgot Grandpa at the rest stop. They're just silent. They just keep driving.
And yeah, that it's, of course, Mo the bartender, and it's just no illusion.
Just kill your family.
Just kill your family. That's all it is. He just tells kill your family.
Just kill your family. Yeah.
When he's breaking into rooms and they're not in there, and like here's Johnny, and nobody's in there, and then what does he say? He was like introduces another late night. It's just
late night people. Yeah.
People. Here's Chevy. No, that was a Family Guy joke as well.
That was Family Guy.
That was Family Guy time travel ruining thing. Yes.
Good.
No, this one, The Shinning, was almost my number 1. The Shinning was the first one that I thought of when we were going to do this list. has been close to my favorite for a long time, but it did get pushed back a little bit to my number 2. It's Nick's number 3. And it's a super fun. All 3 in this episode are super fun.
And fun game for everybody. If you're playing along at home, you should by now know what Cody's number 1 is.
Because we've punted everything else. Everything else on my list has been punted. So it's just my 1 and 3 could be, eat one of 2.
That's true. That's true. You have 2 to choose from. That's right. But yeah, no, the Shining is being a Stephen King fan and being a fan of The Shining. It's another reason I love it to death. But I just love, the blood usually gets off at the 3rd floor.
It's TV that saves them all.
That's right. Yeah, and I love it goes to what it turned off, and or murder rising or whatever.
The signal goes out or something for a second. Urge to kill rising, returning.
And I rewatched this one the other day, and I had just rewatched the South Park Shining episode. That one's damn good too. Just when he's frozen at the end. You want some McDonald's? Yeah, okay. What do you want? Chicken nuggets, fries, high C orange. It's just so good. But yeah, no. Number 3.
I was so disappointed. Somebody reminded me on Facebook the other day that high C orange used to exist at McDonald's, and I still miss it.
Yeah,
I don't want good. Fanta. I want high C orange. I want
you don't want a Fanta. Ooh, maybe next year they'll bring that back with the new Ghostbusters. So
maybe McRib's coming back next month.
I like real food, not fake food.
Did you ever?
I've never liked the McRib. It's never been one of my favorites. I've never went crazy for it.
I've never gone crazy for it. I feel like I've gotten it a couple times that it's been back. I tried the one at Subway, their like rib sandwich, and it was okay. But there's a good barbecue place here, and they just shared McDonald's posts, and there's like, I'm personally offended, and then that was like their announcement of them bringing a rib sandwich now because they've had like brisket and all that fun stuff. But I guess they're going to do a rib sandwich this year when the McRib comes back.
Speaking of Ghostbusters, I was very happy the other night. I was passing out candy, and our trick-or-treating ends at 7:30, and it was like 25 after 7, and it's basically, well, you've been at my house for trick-or-treating. You know that, like, by quarter after, it's pretty much done. You're only going to get one after that. And it was this young girl. She was maybe 11, 12, 13, possibly young. And she comes up, and she's wearing a Ghostbusters jumpsuit. And I was like, look at that. Last person's a Ghostbuster. And I started giving her candy. And usually the last kid, Cody knows, I give like whatever I have left, because by that point I was out of full sizes, so I just had a bunch of little fun sizes, and so I always give the kids like 4 or 5. Basically, that's basically what I did. I said, "Oh, a Ghostbuster, you get a bunch." I give her like a handful. And I looked, and I was like, "Are you Peter Venkman?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "You get more. You're Bill Murray." And I was thinking about it afterwards, and she was laughing, and so she got basically like a whole bowl full of candy for being the last person, also being a Ghostbuster. But I was thinking about it afterwards, like, how awesome is it that like this young girl who's like probably 11, 12, 13 chose a Ghostbuster for Halloween, and not even like, she wasn't like, oh, her Ghostbusters is maybe the new one because, that one came out a few years ago. She's not dressed as Melissa McCarthy or Kristen Wiig. No, she chose Peter Venkman, which I thought was really, really fun.
And that's cool.
Just made me think of that. But yeah, The Shining, number 3.
The Shining. My number 2. So moving over to my number 3, though, before we get into, the top. My number 3 from Treehouse of Horror, numero uno, The Raven.
Quoth?
Nevermore. Quoth the Raven, eat my shorts. Which every time I...
This one...
Yeah, every time I like hear The Raven being read, the first time they say, someone says quote The Raven, I say eat my shorts, because and I still remember like when we were learning Edgar Allan Poe in high school English
middle
class,
school. It was middle school
English class.
Yeah,
I know for sure high school, but probably middle school too. That our
teacher the one time I watched it. Okay, I remember I watched it. We watched it in middle school. I remember when we were learning about The Raven.
Okay,
that was when I watched it.
I think both, actually, because I feel like when in the poetry class in high school,
probably that would make sense.
That was,
and it seems like that's something he would do.
Oh, yeah, I know it was him.
If I'm correct on it.
Yeah. So
you know that.
But it's such and that they got James Earl Jones to come in and read The Raven, and just how
It is a damn good job.
how well they mix, you know, the narration with the dialogue with the
It's pretty damn faithful adaptation too. Yeah, there are jokes, you know, but
they're visual.
not interrupting the Raven. You know what I mean? Like when he's talking about Lenore and it shows her portrait and the camera just shows that her hair becomes two different pictures, you know, and it's like, it's not really making a fun of the source material. It's we're using a joke that's going with it. You know what I mean? And this was never one of my favorites, surprisingly. When I was growing up, when I would watch this episode, I could give a shit. It's too young. Don't give a shit about the Raven. And it's my number 10 because it's one that I think is really good. It's not necessarily the funniest by any means. Like, there are others that I could have put on here in terms of being funny and more like ones I think of more, but just in terms of them knocking out of the park, taking a source material and doing something fun with it for that first episode. It's one of the few times they've done that where they just did this. That's not anything.
It's not a parody. It's a full-on.
Yeah, it's just a full-on. Here's an adaptation of the Raven with the Simpsons, and it's fun. Like you said, James Earl Jones is the narrator, and he knocks it out of the park with how he just his performance in it. And I don't know. It's just always been a fun one. I like Bart as the Raven.
Yeah, and it's
just pissing him off.
It's my number 3, and this is one again. Like I can go back to, and it was, the wonderful finale to their first Halloween special, and I think it's definitely, say that it did so well.
Yeah,
had to have helped them continue this. I'm sure they would have continued it anyway, but this again, all the ads, all the comedy, and all the extra comedy in it being just like visual, not taking away from the story and not adding extra stuff except, you know, the eat my shorts and, you know,
it's more visual
when
stuff.
The birds are going around his head. It's nevermore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the visual stuff. The Seraphim knocking him out with the incense burner. I can't remember what it's called. And it's
I don't remember either. Yeah.
And the picture of Marge, and just whenever I think of this episode, I always go straight back to thinking about when Homer starts shouting, "Take thy pick from out the," you know, it's just the way he performed those lines just it makes me laugh every time. The angry, he was hard to understand when he was yelling some of the time, but that was probably just because
I think that's on purpose.
Yeah,
because he's just it's Homer.
Homer. But no, my number 3, I love.
It's my number 10.
The Ravens, the adaptation of the Raven. I feel like I interrupted you about to say something else in there.
No, I was just gonna say it was my number 10.
All right, so my number 2 is The Shinning. So we do have one more mystery, a couple more mysteries actually over on your side, Nick. What's your number 2?
Yeah, no, neither of mine. My number 2 is one that wasn't necessarily one that I sought out like over the years, but rewatching it this time, I watched it and went, I remember that one, and having rewatched it now, which was just a few days ago, I went, that's definitely top tier, and ended up being my number 2 because it just, it's funny to me. My number 2 is Clown Without Pity.
Okay,
which was an early one.
From number 3.
Number 3. Which is the one where Homer buys Bart an evil Krusty doll, and it just terrorizes Homer.
Yep.
And that's all it is. It's just Homer being terrorized by an evil doll, and it's Krusty, and it's hilarious. Like I said, I don't remember this much growing up. I don't remember seeing this one much. I remembered it when I started watching it, and then rewatching it, I remember thinking, okay, I remember bits and pieces, and it just... I don't know, made me laugh. I was like, this is my number 2. I don't know why, really, just him being terrorized.
What really makes me remember this episode is I actually have the Krusty doll walking around my Springfield and Tapped Out.
Do you really?
Yes, I do. And I still play Tapped Out. They're doing another Treehouse of Horror event right now. I don't like how they do the events now. Like all of the extra stuff you have to get with donuts, or there's like 3 different extra things you're trying to collect all at the same time, and it's just too much.
Really?
But I still play it.
I played it. I re-downloaded it a few months ago to play it again, and it glitched out on me and didn't give me any new.
Oh.
And it was early in it because I restarted. because years ago I had one when it first came out, and I had a huge ass Springfield, whatever, but I had to restart it, and it glitched out. All of a sudden, I had no new tasks, and I couldn't figure out why, so I just deleted it. Family Guy I still play. I've got a shitload on that.
Okay.
No, this one is just I don't know. I love. I'm trying to remember because like I said, it was earlier this week, and I watched so many damn Simpsons episodes. I'm trying to remember bits and pieces of the episode.
And this one, the crux of it, they call it
the repairman.
The repairman, and it's
it's the switch to evil.
Oh, there's your problem. The switch is set to evil there. The switch is to good.
Yeah.
I love you, Homer.
Yeah, I love you, Homer. I'm trying to remember. Oh, that's right. He starts dating Lisa's Malibu Stacy doll.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember. There was a joke with Grandpa Simpson. Oh, that's right. When he comes in and that doll is evil, and they're like, "You're just saying that to get attention." Yeah.
Poor Abe.
Poor
Grandpa Simpson.
I know.
I still can't believe it took me so long to realize it was Dan Castellaneta that voiced Grandpa Simpson too.
Really?
I don't know why I didn't know that until recently.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. No, like I said, this was one that just was a newer watch for me. I'd seen it years ago, but hadn't. It was one I was like, okay, I want to rewatch that one because I don't remember it enough. And when I did, I found it so damn funny. Just Homer just being constantly terrorized. When he looks over and sees the doll and he's like, oh, and then he raises his hand. He's holding a knife and Homer screams.
Could this have anything to do with us just having watched all through Child's Play?
Well, it's an evil clown, so that's always funny to me.
Yeah.
And then he throws him in the bottomless pit that just happens to exist, and he just comes back.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the coda on the end that just I really like. Oh, there's your problem. It's switched to evil. I love you, Homer. Oh. So yeah, my number 2, A Clown Without Pity.
All right, that was. I don't know if that one would have made my list. It's a good one. But...
It's just Homer. Homer's my favorite character. He always has been. So any that are Homer centric, and especially when it's Homer just being terrorized by anything, is always funny to me. So him being terrorized by a little doll that's running around with a knife, I think it's just great.
The bee's knees. So
the bee's knees. I was going to say the tits, but I didn't.
So Nick, what is Homer being terrorized in your number 1 then?
It is not Homer being terrorized in number 1. This one is definitely the one that growing up I made sure I found and watched and set a recorder for, or made sure, it's on tonight, I got to make sure I watch it. It's a parody one, and I think to me it's not as strong as The Shining, because like I said, I think The Shining is one of the strongest, but I think it's a damn strong parody one that takes the source material and does a lot of fun stuff with it, and it's one that has always made me laugh, and Cody referenced it earlier. It's Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace.
All right.
I've always loved Groundskeeper Willie being Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
It's always funny to me. And I think pound for pound, this one on my list is the funniest. To me, is the funniest one on my list. Starting instantly with the beginning, when you find out what happened to Groundskeeper Willie, when they're having the PTA meeting, and the furnace explodes. And he tries to interrupt as he's on fire, but not even him interrupting. It's the lead up to that when he's in the basement and they're like, okay, and it cuts to the PTA meeting and Scan's, okay, new business. Furnace repairs. Nay. And it cuts downstairs and the furnace explodes and catches him on fire and he's running upstairs and, okay, second order of business.
Doorknob repair.
Yay or nay? Doorknob repair. Nay. He can't get the door open and he bursts through it. And then the third order of business. Yay or nay? Having the fire department refill the fire extinguishers. Now remember, this is a free service they offer. Nay. He tries to use it and he can't. And then, like you said, when he bursts in, Groundskeeper Willie, please. Mr. Van Houten has the floor. And he just sits in the corner.
On fire.
On fire. It's just, to me, like I said, to me, pound per pound is the funniest one of my list. It's just, I die. And then even then, it's funnier even after that with what's his face dying in the classroom. I can never remember the kid's name. It's not Ralph.
Martin. It's Martin.
Martin, that's right. When Martin dies in the classroom, he just just screams and falls over.
And then when they're him out, don't let anyone see this. And he pulls the curtain over. Just get him out of here. Not into the kindergarten.
That one, not into the kindergarten. That's right. Same with that. That joke kills me. Like in these, the sheet, and they all laugh or scream, and then not into the kindergarten. You just hear the kids just scream. It is. It's, to me, it's the funniest damn one in the list. And then just the use of Groundskeeper Willie. The very beginning, obviously, is the only time we see him dressed like Freddy, where he's got the hat and the sweater, and instead of it's the rake instead of the razor hands. But then later, when he's attacking them, I love when Bart thinks he's beating him. When Bart, correct, the bagpipe spider, when he comes up out of the thing behind him. It's just an awesome image, and of itself, just a really cool, iconic image to me. Mm-hmm. But then it's the bagpipes. It's awesome. I love how they defeat him. They just stick the thing into the air hole or whatever, and he explodes. Mm-hmm. But again, it's funny as hell at the very end when they think they've beaten him, and the bus pulls up, and he's there, and it's him just going, "Bleh, bleh, bleh," and then wait, I left my knife on the bus, or the gun or whatever, and he starts chasing it. Yeah. I love it. Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace always was the one I had to make sure I saw when that one was on and watch it, because it truly, like I said, is pound for pound the funniest one to me. Like I said, starting with, how you see how he died, all those jokes leading up to it kill me. Like you said, Principal Skinner stepping on the sheet and revealing Martin in the kindergarten, the jokes later, I love it. Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace.
This was very close to my list, and I mean, so you did it. More than half of your list are just from episode Treehouse of Horror 5 and 6, because all 6 of those segments are on that list.
They're they're my 2 favorite episodes, man. I love them. They're the best.
Time and Punishment and Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace, and I could have done the same thing, and I almost did.
I had no problem with putting whole episodes on my list, because if they're the best, to me, they're the best, and I think those 2 episodes are damn near the closest we have to perfect, and in terms of all 3 segments being winners, because usually Treehouse of Horror, you'll maybe have 2 that are great and 1 that's okay. 2 that are great. One, to me, last night's. You said you liked the Spider-Verse parody. I thought it was okay. I greatly liked the other 2 more.
Okay.
Whereas I feel like episodes 5 and 6, like you said, they have all 3 of both on.
All 3 are good.
I think are winners. I think are 100% winners, and I have no problem being all 3 are on there, because. Yeah, Evergreen Terrace, I love it. So not to the kindergarten.
So we talked about Attack of the 50-Foot Eye Stores. We talked about Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace. Now over to my number 1, we're going to talk about Homer Cubed. This was...
That's probably another reason why I like this one, and like I said, 50-Foot Eye Stores, is because I always made a point, I've got to see the Nightmare on Elm Street parody.
Yeah, you watched
this one. More so, because this one you said is also Attack of the 50-Foot Eye Stores, right? Mm-hmm. That one I really like, and it's on my list, but when I would seek this episode out for the holidays, it was always Evergreen Terrace and Homer Cubed. That were the 2 that I liked more than the other one.
Yeah. I mean, even so,
and that's your number 1?
Eye Stores is still really good, and Homer
Cubed absolutely. It's on my list.
Favorite. I mean, Homer Cubed was revolutionary for The Simpsons. It was about
that's why I always loved it.
Half of the segment was a 3D animated Homer, and it was
that to me, when I would seek it out back in the day, it was because I want to see the one where it's Homer CG animated, and I loved it.
And it's definitely 90s level CG. I remember
but it still looks good.
One of their specific things was they wanted it to look better than the Money for Nothing music video, which it did, but not by much.
But my favorite part was always the very end. I love the moment when it's Homer in the real world.
Life. Yeah. And it's still 3D
and it's him just
Homer. Everyone looking around.
And everyone just looking at him I love that ending. But I think there are just great jokes even leading up to that.
Yeah, all throughout. And there's math jokes all throughout the background. There's and I mean, when you realize this segment was written by David X. Cohen, who was one of the main writers or one of the executive producers of Futurama. So I mean, again, with the highly qualified, all the math jokes, they were, they had to hire a new animation company for this episode, new production company to do the 3D stuff. And I love, of course, it's Frank that knows what's going on, and when he's explaining the 3rd dimension to them, everyone's just confused because how do you get into the third dimension, and
Yeah.
it's great, and it's all because he's trying to hide from Patty and Selma.
Yep.
Just falls into this. It's like, I can't remember the exact quote, but he's like, all right, seeing Patty and Selma or Mysterious Abyss. Mysterious Abyss it is. It just goes in. Just the design of 3D Homer, the design of 3D Bart, which again last
Yeah, which was cool.
The production company was like, how the heck do we do his hair? So they actually went out and bought a Bart Simpson doll and modeled it after that because they didn't know how to do the hair in 3 dimensions. And it's like, we don't have to figure it out. Somebody else already figured it out. Let's just use that. Again, looks gorgeous. One of probably the more expensive Futurama or Simpsons episodes. One of the more expensive Simpsons episodes of the time. I say this part has been brought into different like showcases of 3D technology during that time to where, yeah, it was revolutionary. It was not something that was done. This was, still a couple years, or the same year as Toy Story. I think 95 was Toy Story as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, to put this much into a 5-minute television segment when Pixar was doing it for full movies was still, I'd say, super revolutionary, super ahead of its time, and very, very well done. And my favorite
it's just
Treehouse of
funny
Horror
too.
segment. And it's funny.
Good deal. Yeah. Well, all right. Those are our lists for this week.
Why is everything so bulgy? Why is my belly so big? Why is my butt?
But yes, that is our list for this week of our top 10 favorite Treehouse of Horror segments. Head to our Facebook page and let us know what you thought of our list. What are your favorite segments? Do you like any of our segments? Is the internet still a thing? Because who knows right now while you're watching this. Is Facebook still a thing? That's a big question. Head over to iTunes, leave us a review, please. A 5-star review would be fantastic. If you're watching on YouTube currently, right down below, there's a subscribe button. If you haven't hit that yet, make sure you do. That way you never miss an episode of the show. If you hit the bell, you'll really make sure you don't miss an episode of the show because you'll get a notification when the show drops. That's right. Make sure to hit the like button too, so that way the show can reach more viewers because, that's always a good thing. That's right. Yeah, hit the like one. That one right there. Cody, anything else to add?
No, I think this is a good culmination of our Halloween horror month in a week. And say this was a fun episode because there was a lot to rewatch for this one, but it was fun stuff to watch. And a lot of it I could just have on in the background. This was something where it's like I've seen a lot of these already. When I got to the newer ones, I was paying more attention, but then I did find myself, it's like, oh, they're doing an Avatar parody. Skip. Oh, they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, say Simpsons. Say they've had a
Getting
couple
lazier
gems in the past few years, here and there, but again, the '90s, early 2000s Simpsons, as reflected on our lists here at least, were definitely the golden age of
absolutely
of the Simpsons. So.
Absolutely. So hopefully you enjoyed this list as much as we've liked saying it.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. For the Get Ranked Movie Podcast, I am Nick.
And I'm Cody.
We'll see you next time.
Get Ranked, a movie podcast, episode 83, Treehouse of Horror.